Hello everybody. This is going to be very quick, but I wanted to do basically a mentoring session for the whole class, not just for those who are asking for a little bit more in-depth mentoring. But this is going to be required. I just decided that because you don't have an assignment this week, but I want you to benefit from this discussion. I think everybody in the class would want to, but you never know who might not. And usually the person who might not is the person who needs it the most. So this is required. It won't take long. It will be helpful, I hope. So the first thing I wanted to talk about to you when it comes to an EOL or an exam in whatever class is that you need to work on the skill of reading the questions. And this is the challenge for you. You can't overthink the questions. You can't read into them, and yet we're asking you to critically think about them. So that's difficult. That's hard. That's what NCLEX is going to ask you to do. You're building up your practice for the NCLEX. I don't want to scare you about that big test in the sky. Yes, it's difficult, but you can do it. And as you go on and through your ATI and your remediation, and then what you do in the 8th semester and with Miss Barrow, you're gonna be prepared. But you gotta be where you need to be right now. So make sure that you're reading the questions. What does it give you as far as the information? And it could be that there's some information in there that you don't need or that you do. But don't stop with the stem. Read the question, and I'll tell you exactly what I mean by that. Don't overthink it, but do think critically. Don't try. We're not trying to trick you, but trying to have you learn to look at the info and see what the question's asking. Also, look, I cannot overemphasize this, that you must start early in your studying, because you've got to move from, oh, I'm familiar with that, I heard that before, to yes, I know that, to I understand it, and then moving past even that to where I know this backwards and forwards, and I can compare it and contrast it with other conditions. I know this is the, and I know sometimes you overstudy because you don't know what's going to be on the EOL, but I guess there's really not much of a help for that, except giving you direction as far as what not to look at, which I did. So let's go and take a look at one of the questions. And with this question, I've got the answers up there as well. And so which nursing action would be most effective in the management of congestive heart failure in an infant? This is actually one that was on the EOL. It's difficult. It's a difficult question because each of these, so what do you do when every answer is not wrong? So what do you look at? First of all, it's asking you, the question is basically in the stem, and it's saying what nursing action would be the most effective in the management of congestive heart failure in an infant. So assessing blood pressure and administering captopril. You see the feeding a low salt formula. Well, all of these sound great. Teaching the family to assess for edema and monitor weight daily. That sounds super important. Encouraging breast milk. Yeah, that sounds great. Now, we know that we would have to probably fortify it with human milk fortifier, but still, breast milk is great. And so all of these are good. But it comes down to the most effective nursing action. Now, if you read about management of CHF or management of heart failure in an infant, you're going to see that it's making sure their oxygenation's good, making sure that we support their cardiac function, that we get plenty of rest, that we get plenty of nutrition, and all of this kind of goes along with that. But if you don't support the heart function, so just looking at these that we have to choose from, if you don't support the heart function, then the rest of it's not going to do anything on its own. It'll help. But basically, yes, I can teach the family to assess for edema and monitor weight gain, but or weight gain or loss. But if all that I'm doing for this patient is assessing for edema and weight gain, that's not going to effectively manage this condition. What is the most important from these available choices is A. Yeah, we want to know what the blood pressure is, but really when it gets to administering captopril, so if you look under management in your chapter, and you look at supporting cardiac function, the first three things it says is digoxin, ACE inhibitors, and furosemide, because we're just not going to manage heart failure without these medications. So that's the most important thing. C is not a bad answer, it's just not the most effective. And when you have a question like this that you really have to pick between really good answers, that's one of the hardest questions, the hardest type questions you're going to face. Also, a high level question is priority questions. And this doesn't say the word priority, but since it says the most effective, it is a priority question, and those are some of the most difficult as well. This one is interesting because you have information in the stem, and if you're not careful, if you don't read the question, then you might already jump to conclusions. Now, I'm glad that you're thinking, but so let's walk through it like we were taking this test. An infant client is receiving digoxin and furosemide for congestive heart failure. And my brain is already going, oh, I know what the digoxin's for. I know what the Lasix is for. Oh, there's a potassium issue there because furosemide's non-potassium sparing, and I know that digoxin can get toxic in that condition. You know, I'm thinking about all these things, and all these things are true. But then I have to see, what is the question asking? Which of the following should be monitored? Oh, I know it. I know it's potassium. Wait, hold up. Which of the following should be monitored by the nurse to evaluate the effectiveness of furosemide? What? So the question is about furosemide, and it's not just about furosemide, it's about the effectiveness. So you really have to see, what is the question asking you, because it's not asking you at this point about toxicity of digoxin or the fact that furosemide doesn't spare potassium. None of that. It's important information in the stem, but you can't let the information steer you the wrong way by not reading the question. And so if you're looking at the effectiveness of furosemide, then you're talking about things like their intake and output. Are they diuresing? Are they getting rid of some of this fluid, which would also be indicated in their weight, so in their daily weights. Potassium is not an appropriate answer in this question. When we get to the calculations, I'm going to make a kind of an appeal to you in a point, but just let's go through it real quick. An 8-month-old infant is being started on captopril for congestive heart failure. Infant weighs 10 pounds. You already know you're going to have to convert that to kilograms. The physician ordered captopril 0.01 milligrams per kilogram by mouth every 8 hours. So I don't know yet if the question's going to ask me like a daily total or what it's going to ask me. I haven't gotten there yet. The available captopril solution is 0.1 milligrams per ml. Oh, maybe the question's going to ask me to calculate the volume. So I don't know yet. I haven't read the question yet. Round your answer to 3 decimal points. What is the correct dose? Oh, okay. So this is what it's asking me. It's asking me for the correct dose. So 10 pounds over X kilograms equals 2.2 pounds, 2.2 kilograms in 1 pound. If you cross multiply, the pounds cancel out, and so I should have just put over X, I guess. But anyway, you can do this by just dividing by 2.2, or you can work it out and cross multiply and do 2.2x equals 10 and divide by 2.2. It's the same thing, and you're going to come out with 4.5454 kilograms. So we know we're going to use that in the calculation, so let's not round it yet. Then okay, so we've got what we want is 0.01 milligrams per kilogram. So we want 0.01 milligrams for every kilogram of body weight, and that's going to be our dose, each dose every 8 hours. So 4.544, what did I say? 4.5454 kilograms times zero. I should have put a 0 there. 0.01 milligrams per every kilogram. then you see the kilograms cancel out, and what you end up with is this long number, which if you were done with this calculation, you could round it. And you really are done, but you didn't. Some of y'all didn't know that you were done, and so that rounds to 0.045 milligrams, and that is the dose. It's milligrams, that's the dose. And so if you want to figure out what volume you would give, which is not the dose, but it's the volume, then you look at the concentration available, you do your desired over hand, and we took that as well. That was fine. You could do the milligrams or you could do the mils. So you would do this long number, milligrams, divided by 0.1 milligrams times 1 mil. That's desired over hand times the volume, and this is what you get. Actually, I should have put mils. I kind of made this hurriedly. 0.45 blah, 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 blah milliliters, or rounded, it would be 0.455. Some of you put 0.454. There is a way to round that they use in science and chemistry, where that has to do with the 5. But what we do usually in MedCalc is if there's a 5 or above in that next decimal place, then you round up. So I'll say 0.455 milliliters is the volume. So you could have either put 0.045 milligrams, or you could put 0.455 milliliters, or we even took 0.454 milliliters. So that is the dose. You want to give the patient this much medicine, which with the solution that we have on hand is this volume of medicine. So either one of those was acceptable, but I want you to please think about something, okay? How important this is. So if you had put no units, then how do you know what you're given? So some of y'all put the numbers without the units. We can't accept that, because what is it? That's not safe. If you put, let's go back. If you put 0.455 milligrams per kilogram, that's not good. How many kilograms did we say this child weighed? 4.5, approximately. So if you put milliliters per kilogram, or even if you put milligrams per kilogram, you're giving 4.5 times the normal dose. You are not just doubling the dose, you're quadrupling the dose for this child, which is not safe. If you gave some other answer like 2 mils or 1 milligram, you didn't do the math right. That's not safe. So really we're talking about a variance here, a med error. In Chasing Zero, they talk about Dennis Quaid's child and children actually, and how they were almost fatally overdosed with heparin in the ICU. We cannot say, oh, the pharmacy sent it up this way. We can't say, oh, I just miscalculated. These are critical things, and the smaller the person, the more precise the measurement has to be. But med errors affect everybody. I'm not trying to be too hard on you. You might say, oh yeah, but this is a test and I get nervous. Well, when you're on a unit with 6 and 7 patients and you're having to draw up a medication quickly, you're having to figure it up or check that the pharmacy did it correctly, that's stressful too. So all I'm trying to say is, if you are not comfortable with calculations, it is not optional for you. You don't have an option. Maybe you can, oh yeah, maybe I'll just miss 1 or 2 each test. No, that's not an option, and that's not the point. You have to, you must. It's incumbent upon you to practice, practice, practice. Practice your calculations until you get good at them, because we're not just talking about PD in your grade, we're talking about your patients' lives. So remember also your leading zero, because it just makes it clearer and prevents errors. Now, I understand that you may have other questions from the test, or other questions just in general, and I welcome you to do mentoring for those. But hopefully this has helped you a little bit, and give me some feedback and let me know.